All right, council, everyone ready? Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and call to order our May 5th, 2022 regular council meeting. And we'll begin with a moment of silence. Amen. All right, need to get a motion to approve the agenda. Tom makes the motion, Scott seconds, all in favor, unanimous. Need a motion to accept the consent agenda. Craig makes the motion. Scott seconds, all in favor, unanimous. All right, do we have an attorney report? No. Okay. There being no old business, then we'll go ahead and we're going to have Dallas Taylor, who is representing us on the Raven County Water and Sewer Authority, wanted to come in and speak with y'all tonight, and he brought
Brendan Thompson
in with him. So if y'all have any additional questions, what's going on is, well, several things. He reports back to us what's going on, and his term is coming up for reappointment, I think in June or July. So Dallas.
From here?
Huh?
From here? Is that okay
Yeah,
from here?
or you, yeah, it's fine.
Good to meet most of you. I know a couple of you. I'm Dallas Taylor. I've been on the Raven County Water Sewer Authority as a Little Falls representative now for one full term, which was 3 years. And I filled in for a partial term before that, so about a total of 4 years. And Mike's right, my appointment's coming up July 1st. It's a 3-year appointment, and I would like to stay on the Water Authority. We've been doing a lot of work. Just now takes a term or so to get in and figure out what all's going on. And we got a lot of good things planned with the Water Authority. Just this week, reading in the paper about the new valve that's going in north of Clayton. That'll be something that we're able to provide water to the city of Clayton from our north plant on the Middle Tennessee River. That frees up our Lake Raven water plant to service, to update. That's something we've been working on for some time. And there's a lot of things going on. I'm gonna let Brendan speak to that in a minute, but you know, we've got a long-term redundancy line in the works. And anyway, we got a good group of people. I will say that I can't let it pass without mentioning Greg Peters. He's a longtime member of the Water Authority, passed away suddenly last night, dear friend of mine and Brendan's. But we got a lot of good people on there. And I would appreciate your reappointment. And any questions, I know Mike has my number. He and I have talked a few times, met with Brendan and also the chairman of our Sam Beck, the chairman, at least one time. So anyway, I'm glad to be here, meet some new council members. I want y'all to have my phone number if you ever have any questions. If I can't answer them, this man right here is the answer, book for the Water Authority. But any questions, please let us know. And, I appreciate your report.
Any questions? Anything you want?
No, I just want to add what Dallas said. We've got, I think we've got some good momentum. The best that I've seen in my 8 years that I've been here. Mayor Cannon's been great to work with in the city of Clayton. We're, as y'all well know, our charter calls out this, that our main goal is to consolidate all water and sewer in the Raven County community. So As Dallas said, we got a number of projects that we got underway, and we're continuing to work on that and make sure the community has good potable water and wastewater services. I will say, we have a great working relationship with the commissioners. Commissioners really have supported us very well, and so I think we're on the right path. I mean, it's the best. I've felt best about the way things are looking right now. We got a long road ahead of us. I'm not going to sugarcoat that at all. We got a lot of work ahead of us, probably 20 years worth. But I think we got the right people and we're moving that way.
Just add a couple of things. I do have a business inside the city of Clayton downtown, and got a good working relationship with the current new council, mayor and whatnot. And I think that helps a little. It's good for the board members of the authority to get along with and be involved in the city of Clayton. Because we got a lot of consolidation working in this, a lot. And I've always had this opinion, last point I'll make, is I know the water authority does not currently serve Little Falls without its water nor sewer, but y'all are county taxpayers down here, whether you're getting services or not, you're still county taxpayers. And we try to appreciate that. And anytime you need any information, just because you feel like you're not on the system, that makes no difference. You let us know.
Can't say just like everybody else.
That's right. You gotta say just like everybody else. My voice on that committee is no. Sam, Beck, and I were talking about this morning. Want to have a say that. From the city of Clayton, the appointees by the city of Clayton, and the appointees by the commissioners have no more say than I do as an appointee of Toledo Falls. We are not even on the system. So just keep that in mind. So I can tell you, if you haven't been there 4 years, there is no weight given one person to another. I know that for a fact. Anyway, we appreciate y'all listening.
Okay.
Peter, can I ask a question?
Sure.
I think it's awesome you guys are consolidating. Good for you guys. I know y'all got a huge fight for a long time, city, county. So anyway, but there is a property that you guys bought that's just outside the city limits of Toledo Falls. So you have any updates on that? And how will that impact this area?
Right now, there's 23 acres that the commissioners purchased and subsequently deeded to the Water and Sewer Authority for a possible future wastewater treatment facility. We've done a preliminary engineering report on it. We have a waste load allocation that's been approved by EPD. Basically, the water that we will be returning to the stream will be better quality than what's in the stream now. That's probably at best, as with this business, you try to have a crystal ball, but at least 10 years, at least. And that would basically serve the corridor from the high school to Toledo Falls.
So it will come to the town?
Well, the plant will be up there now, and I think Mayor Early and I have spoken about that. You would have to force main it from here because of the elevation difference. But
Just sewer. It's not
Just
water.
wastewater.
yeah, just wastewater.
I'm very interested in the sewer.
When we met, what I asked him was, and so speak to this, the capacity, the way they're designed it, it's modular. And they would be able to increase the capacity, be able to pick us up if we ever decided we needed to take advantage of that. So,
We would start, it's basically a two-phase project. As I've looked at it on the preliminary, and again, I want to stress preliminary. It would be a modular package plant that would start out at 200,000 gallons a day and could be expanded to 400,000 gallons. Now, what goes in the ground as far as the headworks, pumps, everything else will be sized to 400,000 because that's just what you do. The school puts out about 25,000 gallons a day. So that would leave great good capacity between the high school and the plant itself. But again, I want to stress that that's way out, that the property was on the market and was able to be had. That's what we're trying to do is look 10, 15, 20 years in the future. We really don't want to have to borrow the money to do that. We probably earmark SPOS money for that in the future days. Because you're going to need wastewater treatment along that corridor. Because it's the on-site septic systems are just not going to carry a Dollar General or whoever else that will purchase there for us. But we certainly would entertain talking to Tula Falls if you all wanted to look at force maining it up there.
Right.
And we drop it into our headworks and treat it. But EPD's been very stringent on us as far as that waste load allocation and making sure that, again, that the water we return would be at a higher quality than what's being pulled. That we're not pulling, but what's existing in the waterway as it is now.
If I'm not mistaken, right now, y'all are taking out, how much out of Lake Raven?
Out of Lake Raven,
Yeah,
on a daily basis, we probably pull about 1.3 million gallons a day.
okay, and a lot of that ends up going up, if I'm not mistaken, into Toccoa, which goes directly into Chattooga and bypasses the Tallulah River. So this plant would put a lot of that water that's being taken out of Lake Raven back into Tallulah watershed.
Correct.
Okay.
And again, there's an offset there because we actually get the volumes from Clayton's wastewater treatment facility and offset that because you have to realize that every drop of water that we pull from Lake Raven, we have to pay Georgia Power for the lost revenue that they say they lose with the generator capacity.
Right.
So, and that was one of the things that we were talking about too, is since we have two water plants, with Little Tennessee being constructed in 2017, we wanted to put more emphasis on the northern plant because we don't have to pay for the water to pull it from Little Tennessee. And our permit, our community's permit, basically says that we can pull water from either source in any combination area, which is basically unheard of in the state of Georgia. I mean, I've worked in this industry for 30 years. I've never seen a permit like that. And it's worth its weight in diamonds, not gold, diamonds.
You also don't have to pay the power bill to pump it.
The power of the pump.
It's gravity fed north to south. Like,
The elevation difference from north to south, there in River Gap, down to Clayton, that's Dallas says.
yeah, there's just a lot of good common sense things happen. It's just like that valve I mentioned earlier. You read that paper, you think, what you're talking about valve? How important is that? Well, without that valve, we can't do just that.
Right.
We cannot physically bring water from the north to south because for whatever reason, the political atmosphere, when that north plant was built, the political atmosphere was such that it would refuse. Basically, the water would refuse. And we were forced to pump it from Lake Raven to Clayton. That atmosphere has changed.
Right.
And we're able to get some things as simple as that sounds. It's just we're able to do that and save a tremendous amount of money. But tell them just a little bit, it won't take more time, about the potential for South Loop. We talked about that.
Oh, yeah.
That's on water.
South Loop, the commissioners approached me about 2 or 3 years ago and said, well, what is your vision as far as 3 or 4 projects that you would see that would have the best impact for the community? One of those is like Dallas said, what we call the South Loop. We have what we call the North Loop, which basically goes around River Gap. So what we would call the South Loop would be basically come out of our plant there at Shady, like come down over 441 to just between the 2 bridges right up here, and then turn back north along by Picket Parlor and all the way up to the school. And basically we have an 8-inch line that goes across Bob's Mountain there. And basically what you'd be correct, because anybody that deals with water, and I'm sure you know this, you want to keep your water moving. You don't want your water to be stagnated. I mean, chlorine drops out, your chlorine levels go down. But that was what we were wanting to do is, I really see that project happening before the wastewater plant, because you got to have the water before you have the wastewater.
And that's not far from Blue Falls.
And that's not far from now.
That's what I think about. When you get that to those double bridges, it's not a stretch to get it down there.
You're looking at a mile to get it to y'all. So it's something to look at, but that there are, as you and I talked about, there are some physical obstacles that you're gonna have to fight with, and namely being the rock that you're gonna have to go through, and you're gonna have to do a lot of blasting.
Tacoma Natural Gas did it, so I reckon y'all can too.
Well, it's not a matter of whether or not you can do it, it's whether or not you want to pay for it. That's the issue there. So, but that South Loop, I think, would be a great benefit again to the community. Because you're able to bring water down over 441 and have it along the 441, new 441 corridor. That would open up a lot of opportunities in the corridor. I mean, for smart growth. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that we're talking with the commissioner. And y'all know this with Clayton, and I'm sure y'all read the paper. It's going to come. You just got to be able to manage it. Be smart about what you're going to bring in and how it fits in with the community as it is. So, but I think that was one of the top three that I had, that project and the wastewater force.
Any other questions? All right. Joey couldn't be here tonight for various reasons, and he has served on the Water and Sewer Authority at one point in the past and had to step down because the meeting dates he couldn't quite make. So he really wanted to be here to give you guys some additional insight as we make a decision. So I went ahead, Dallas already scheduled to be here, so I figured I'd go ahead and let them come in and speak, do the presentation. But Joey's asked that we table the appointment until next month. So I'd like to get a motion that we table appointment for a Water Sewer Authority until next month. Scott makes that motion. Tom seconds. All in favor? All right. So I want to give Joey an opportunity to speak with the council so they can make a unified decision. So thank you for coming.
If I need to come back next month, I'm happy to.
Okay.
Let me know.
Yeah. No problem. All right. Yeah, y'all.
Thank you.
That's fine.
Have a
Thanks for
good
coming.
meeting.
Nice to meet y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
y'all.
Thank you.
Yeah, especially as precious as water is to us right now, I thought that was pretty timely for them to come and start with some additional information at the south. And, so forth. All right, on to item B, the speed zone ordinance amended. We approved the speed zone ordinance in our last meeting, but there were a couple of issues that need to be addressed, so.
So I sent it back to them and then they sent me back something saying that there were some changes that had to be made to it. So they would give me an updated one. The update extended the 45-mile-an-hour speed limit to the Raven County line, as well as corrected the milepost to reflect what's in the field. The note about no radar can be ran on some sections of SR 15 due to steep grades was also added. So they sent it back to me, and so it's before you for approval of the amendment.
Have you seen the amended one? We need to have him sign off on it first. There's an ordinance.
You, in the packet or is this one?
No, it's in.
I hesitated to bug Warren this week about anything since he was preparing for that hearing. So. We want to distract him.
Yeah. This is
Fine. Okay. All right, so we need a motion to adopt the ordinance as the new ordinance as amended. Scott makes that motion. Second. That's fine. Craig seconds. All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, I'll sign off on that. We have our alcohol license permit for Tallulah Adventures LLC and Kyle Jerome. All right. But Linda, I think they met all the requirements.
They have met on the requirements, the background check came out clear. And so they are requesting a malt beverage retail license. That's for on-site consumption and the wine the wine, same thing, for on-site consumption. They have applied with the state. The state will issue a license once we issue ours. And then they did their advertising, they had to advertise for 4 weeks in both newspapers for Habersham and Clayton. And the only comments, written comments that we had were from Reverend James Turpin Senior and Catherine Turpin in opposition to it, and from the members and friends of the Little Falls United Methodist Church, who were also in, not specifically against them, just against. But they've otherwise met all the requirements.
Any other questions about the application?
Again, this doesn't allow them yet for tastings or selling in tastings yet.
Not yet.
We have to make those changes. Correct.
This is just as our ordinance
It's just our-
exists right now.
All right, and I'd like to have a motion. Oh, wait a minute.
Those of us that are new, is it okay to ask for someone to explain the rules?
This is for an alcohol license.
Right, I meant what do we have in town already? What do we allow and what else do we have?
Right now, all we do is on-site consumption of beer or wine. That's all. There's no distilled spirits here, and there's no Sunday sales here, and there's no package sales here.
And the tea house does that? Where else actually does it? We have nobody else with it.
The only alcohol license, beer and wine, or no, just beer, I think, is the restaurant.
Other restaurants, right?
Yeah.
Are you taking public comment? We already passed that. so-
No, well, public comments later, but,
Okay.
all right. So have a motion to,
I'll make a motion to accept
accept
that.
the application.
I'll second it.
Scott seconds. All in favor? It's unanimous. All right, then we have, maybe all 3 sign permits at once, or do we need to do each one individually? Yeah, we do. I see. Okay. So we have a sign permit for Tool Adventures ground sign. Looks good. Any input information? Other than what? In other words, the council have any questions about that
I don't have any.
permit? There are no objections to it.
There is a picture of it on the table if anybody hasn't seen it.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept the application? Scott makes that, Tom seconds, all in favor, unanimous. All right, sign permit for Tool Adventures attached sign. Is there any objections to it? That's all of our requirements.
And there's 2, and that's the next one, but there's one here for Tool Adventures and there's another one for Wander. And that's on the top of the bill.
What size is it?
Those are 54 square feet. And 58.5. So this one that you're looking at now is 58.5. 9 by 6. Glasses on. That's right.
So if there are any more questions, I'll have a motion to issue the permit for the Adventure Tool Adventures attached sign. Tom makes the motion, Scott seconds, all in favor, unanimous. All right, and last but not least, a sign permit for Wander, North Georgia, attached sign.
I'll make a motion to accept. Second.
Right, we're jumping the gun. We'll go ahead and do it unanimous. All right, and that being all. Come to the mayor's comments. first thing on my list is that we had our ISO audit Tuesday. They came in and looked at our stuff. As far as equipment goes, we're in good standing, we're in really good shape. We've got to get them a little bit more information, so we don't know the results of the audit just yet. But the auditor did make a comment about that our personnel issues we have a specific personnel issue that we were benefiting from that we no longer do, that got us to a level 4 rating, which is better than both counties together. Both counties are level 5. And this personnel issue is that they considered that our police department were certified and responded with our fire department. And we're part of our fire department. And the theory is right now that because that no longer exists, we may go from a 4 to a 7. 7 is worse. So that would mean insurance rates could possibly go up. So it's something for us to consider. We'll see what the final result is when they finally send that back to us. A lot of the other things that we get docked for are things we always get docked for: lack of training, some of our response times. Actually, we don't get docked too much for response times, but mostly our lack of training because we're volunteers. So, so they'll work with us, and if we come forward with a plan on how to address that issue around our personnel, they will come back and do a re-audit on that. And so we could reclaim that 4 in the future at some point. So we'll have to see. And there's been a change on how insurance companies interpret ISO ratings now. It's a lot of things have changed in the past 10 years since we had our last audit, or 5 years since we had our last audit. So some of this we'll have to deal with. Matt was here, helped the auditor. So if y'all have any questions about that, Matt can probably answer for you. Then I want to move on to, I want to address a couple of issues as we're looking at our budget, as we're looking at we're potentially talking about raising our millage rate. But we also, I think it'd be fair before we raise the millage rate to look at some of our expenses, and that's why I brought some of them up: water expenses, some other expenses, the cost of the radios that we're looking at, and the maintenance fees for those, and all these things are just being heaped on us. In fact, we just got from our insurance company, if we want to carry the planning and zoning insurance, it'd be an additional $5,000 a year that we got to consider as we're looking at our budget. So we got a lot of stuff that's been heaped on top of us for this budget that we do not have money for at all. So we need to look at some of our expenditures. Now, one thing I want to reassure everybody on, and I want to make this blatantly clear and blatantly obvious. I drink the water here just like anyone else does. What I do that no one else does in this town, except one other person, is I put my life on the line on the radio system anytime I go in a building. I do not appreciate people making comments thinking that I'm going to come in here and make any recommendation that is going to sacrifice the security of our first responders or our residents. So for someone to come in and say, well, I pay for safe, I want to pay for this service, I want to make sure I'm safe. I'm not going to come to you guys with anything that I think is not safe. Now, Habersham County is going to be building a great system, whether or not we can afford it. Raven County has a great system. It's not the same system, doesn't cost nearly as much. It is just as safe, just as secure. And if we go with a system on our own, we would want to make sure it's just as safe and just as secure. So I just want to leave those fears now. I won't do anything to sacrifice the safety of this community for any reason. I live here too. My family lives here. So I just want to make that clear. So that is all I have. If the public has any comments, they're free to speak up now.
I do.
All right.
Why wouldn't you go with Raven County's system?
It'd be a great system.
Sounds like it's cheaper.
Yeah. It's the reason may be a logistical issue with the phone system, with the physical, how the lines in the ground or on the poles lay. We don't know yet whether Windstream can shift to where when a landline dials 911, it goes directly to Raven County.
It doesn't have anything to do with the decision to align emergency services with Habersham instead of Raven.
Well,
I can give you so what was explained to me was somebody who was here when they first started 911 here, was that at the time, Habersham County had the agreement. So even when you're on Athens Camp Road, you call 911, it goes to Habersham Dispatch. So it was a speed thing. At the same time, I don't know what it would take to swap that over, but that could be, I'm sure it could be done. But right now, if you're on Athens Camp Road way into Raven County, their agreement was a Habersham County response and 911 goes to Habersham County. I'm just as good with Raven County. They've actually always been over backwards to help us in a lot of ways. So I just don't know what it would take. It'd be up to the phone company to figure out what it would take to shift all those back over to Raven.
Or maybe a city commitment to Raven County would help that. And that's the only reason I asked, if you're getting your emergency services and radio out of Habersham.
yeah, well, actually what we've got is we have SDS agreements with both counties that provide the same services to the town. So what's changed in the past 40 years is that now we have cell phones. And so it depends on which tower your cell phone hits when you dial 911. So if you hit the Verizon tower on the north end of town, it goes straight to Raven County. And they call us and we respond, even in the city limits, and they send their ambulance. If the call goes in on Habersham on a landline or cell line, then Habersham sends their units. And I've been working real hard with both dispatches to not pass a call off. Because that has been in the past, has been the way they operated was, well, if it's on the Raven County side, then Raven County needs to call it. And Raven County says, no, but you have the agreement to cover all of Tallulah Falls. So they send it and they bounce it back and forth, and that's time wasted. And so ultimately, no matter which way we go with our radios, I still would want both counties, if they get the phone call, they dispatch it. It just may be that our radios, we transfer it from our radio to Raven County instead of running all of our radios through Habersham. And we do that with Raven now. If Raven calls us for something, we just move all of our traffic, even though Habersham may page us for the mutual aid call into Raven County, we just move all of our traffic to Raven County radios. So it may be as simple as that, but what we're trying to figure out is what the logistical issues would be to make sure that we still get response. Because both counties are required by the SDS agreement to provide that service to the taxpayers of this town. And ultimately, the way I read it, at no additional charge to the taxpayers of the town, that they should be providing that service, where Habersham right now wants us to pay an additional pay-to-play fee to maintain our radios on their system. So that's where we run into an issue. And at $15,000 a year, we're struggling to come with an additional $5,000 for insurance, where we're going to come with another $15,000. So yeah, I've always appreciated Raven County. They've always treated us one of their own and never asked more from us than they asked from any other. They never asked from anything from Sky Valley or from us, Mountain City. So
it's 15,000 a year. That's
for the maintenance fee, it'd be
versus what is it now?
right now it's about $1,500 a year, and it go up to $15,000 a year. So, and then the cost of the radios are another issue. That's, I think they're $4,500 a radio. And we'd need enough radios. We'd be looking at $108,000 just for our radios. If we go with what we kind of need, we can pare some of that back, but not much. So
What's the law enforcement fire department's take on all this? Like, what do they recommend? Since they're the ones using the radios, right? They know the services.
right.
I'd have to do more research. I'm not opposed to either one of them. Habersham's always done a pretty good job. Raven County has a jam up 911 system. I know, I've seen it. The way we handled it when this first came around is the cars had both county radios in them, and that was real fun. Having to carry two radios. But I mean, right now, we want whatever's the safest and is gonna get the citizens the most bang for their buck, but not sacrificing safety. It's fire department. I know the current radio system leaves a whole ton to be desired. I can't tell you how many times we've needed it and it just hadn't worked. And that can cost lives, and that's not something we're willing to do. If it costs more, then that's fine, but I know Raven County's terrain is more comparable to what's here.
Right.
You know, so I've looked at the process they've gone through in selecting, both counties have gone through a great process
So
in
there-
selecting.
So there is a cost switch, right, to go to Raven or this honestly monumental increase to 15,000 a year, right?
Yeah, and that's really what that's the problem. It's not that the system that Habersham's doing is bad. It's a great system. It's a Cadillac system. I'm sure Tanya she's, I think, y'all been using something. You've used some of the equipment, right? Already? No? Okay. I know she's been involved in the process to a certain point, and I know that what they're looking at is good. The problem we have is because of our limited budget. We just, the cost to do the maintenance fee. So if, I still need to talk to the county. They may be willing to work something out with us on that maintenance fee. If they can come into something that's more that we can afford, then I'd be happy to consider going that way. Or presenting that to the council for that decision, but if it's just such a huge leap, we just need to look at what our options are and see what we can come in with. And again, maintaining the safety of our residents and our first responders, law enforcement, the school, everybody that's going to be involved. So we won't sacrifice that just to save a buck. But if I can save a buck and provide the same service, then yeah, I'm willing to at least explore those options. So, so Tanya, would you like to speak to?
Yeah, I agree. It's hard when, I mean, you've been on the system with Habersham all the time and most of the calls come through Habersham instead of transferring, losing precious minutes and stuff or send that to Raven and they're like, well, it's not mine or Habersham, that would be fine. The hardest thing is being split to counties. It would be ideal if, like you said, it's the safety and what's gonna work best. That kind of like system that Habersham's gonna have is amazing. You'll be able to speak to GSP, all the other counties and stuff without having to, it's just a switch of a button. It's just a lot to look at. The citizens, the school, that's my main thing, because it's in Habersham. If we have something that's what changes are gonna come from.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot to look at.
That makes sense.
And it's hard, the system's been around that we have now for years. It should have been replaced years and years ago. But
Okay, I think the question
we
is,
made,
It's not even that old.
yeah, the question's like the upgrades happen, it's just where's it happening?
yeah, the system we have now is very old. It's been around for a long time. They just keep putting Band-Aids on it to the point now we have to get something that is.
So, all right, any other public comment? Question?
Is this public comment for?
Yes.
Is this the end of the meeting and public comment?
Yes, it is public comment time.
You were in your comments.
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant to go into public comment. I apologize. Yeah.
All right, well, a couple of months ago, I was here and had a chat with the council. And then I attended the budget meeting and some concerning things were said. Between 2 months ago and the budget meeting, one of my neighbors put in a well. And another one of my neighbors is seriously thinking about doing the same thing. And the other neighbors are asking me if they need to put in a well. And I don't know the answer to those questions. And I would like to know the answer to those questions. So I would request that the city council dedicate some time to having EMS come in here and have a chat with us about the state of the system, and not just the state of the system, but the prognosis for the system. Because people are making decisions here. People are making decisions about spending a lot of money. It's a lot of money to put in a well. And I want to know, I'm one of them. I'm seriously considering it. I just spent $7,500 putting in a filtration system in my house. Takes all the iron out, all the minerals out, softens the water, has a UV thing that kills all the bacteria and the viruses. So I don't have to boil water. So that's half the problem. The other half of the problem is delivery. Now, I don't know why people are considering doing this. But I believe personally that it's a crisis of confidence in the water system itself. You know, for years, the council was managing the water system, putting Band-Aids on it, and subsidizing the water prices, keeping costs low. And I benefited from those decisions. And I benefited from it. I appreciate it. The problem with doing that forever is the second law of thermodynamics. Entropy increases. You use a system, an organized system, they all go to heck over time. And I think this council is in a situation where you're past that. You're kind of past putting Band-Aids on the baby. Sooner or later, the baby has to go to a doctor. And what is that sooner or later? I mean, I don't know the answers to these questions. For a long time, there have been a lot of rumors and innuendos and accusations running around this town. Now, I don't know the truth of any of it, but I'd like to get to the bottom of it. I'd like to figure out not just where we are today, but what the prognosis is on a going forward basis. Before I spend 15 grand to put in a well, I'd like to know if I really have to do that. And I think some of my neighbors would like the same thing, would like the answers to those questions. And how does the council build consensus within the community? You do that, in my opinion, by having a conversation in this room, both sides, if there are two sides. Now, I want to figure it out. I want to know what these people have to say. And I want to commend you on the cleaning of the tank and the whole way that operation was done, because I don't know about anybody else, but I filled my bathtub up and I never had to use the water. That's terrific. And now we know that tank is clean, and I guess you'll address some of those issues, but I really would like a conversation with those people, because I would like to talk to them. And I think a lot of my neighbors would like to hear what they have to say as well. So I would request your consideration to do that. Okay. And I'm going to go further. Let's get in real trouble.
You're doing good so far.
You know what these two guys just talked about? You know what they said, 15 to 20 years down the road. Gentlemen, that's called leadership. Prior city council made decisions with regard to the water system, putting straw into Lake Tallulah and selling water. I don't know the details of it. But I recall that there was an income component. Now, the council that made those decisions, the people on that council are people I respect. And they made those decisions and they spent a lot of public money pursuing them. I don't know the status of that plan. I don't know if it's still viable. But when you spend $100,000 of public money, I think we ought to have some answers about that. So if this council doesn't think that plan was a good one, I'd like to know why. But more than that, I'd like to know what the current plan is. Why are you in this budget crunch? What's your plan to get out of it? What's your plan for 10 years down the road? It may be that the community wasn't behind the prior city council's plan. I don't know the answer to that. But sometimes, often leadership isn't doing what the community wants. It's doing what the community needs. And that's what these two gentlemen were talking about. I respect the decisions they made. And the only thing I can ask is that years from now, when you guys are no longer on the council, somebody's gonna be on the council. And I hope that they can respect the decisions that you make. Because the continuity of the board is what we're talking about here, not the members on the board. That's what leads the community. You guys are the leaders. As far as I'm concerned, all of you should be water commissioners. Because I don't know of another topic that goes to the heart of the community like water does. I mean, think about it. You want to talk about priorities? What are the priorities for running a city? Got to have a city clerk. You know? You have the potential of a grant coming up. How'd you get that? Basically luck. But luck in this case was preparation meeting opportunity. And how did you prepare for that? You prepare for that by hiring a qualified city clerk who can form relationships like the relationship she formed with these regional people that knew she was looking for grants and called her and told her about it. Now, preparation meeting opportunity, that's a good thing, but it's still luck. If you get that grant, it could be part of a plan moving forward, but it's not the plan itself. And so you gotta have a city clerk. What else do you have to have? Roads, have to tie the community together with roads. Water. What kind of a community do you have if you have a failure of the water system from some unknown reason? And if you're thinking that that's not going to happen, I just don't think that's a good bet. But you could be thinking that. Police department, getting in trouble. The city could operate without a police department. Would it be good? No, it would be bad. It would be bad every day. But it's not as bad as not having water, because that's really, really bad every day. Fire department, you can operate a city without a fire department. Fire services are available from the counties. Would it be as good as it is now? No. Is that a desirable outcome? No. But the city could operate without that department. It could be done. Desirable? No. Am I in favor of that? No. I support the fire department. I'm just making a point that if you're talking about the prioritization of budget considerations, we really have to get serious about it. So I'd like a conversation here. I'd like to know what your plan is. I'd like to know on a going forward basis. And I would ask the council to consider that. And thank you.
I'd like to address a few points and disagree if I may. According to our estimates, some of the water system costs were up to 300,000. I think you quoted 100,000.
What now?
Some of the costs on the water system fixes and everything were up to 300,000. But
For
that's
that plan to stick in the.
no, this is over some years, but I would like to address something different. I think law enforcement is vital to the community. And I know you were giving an example, but I was here before there was a town. I was here before there was, a water system. I mean, it was pretty much my birth year, but my parents were around before then. So, I mean, we did operate without water beforehand, and we could in the future. Your neighbors are building wells. I can understand that. We've talked to Raven County, obviously. Demarest water is less than a mile away on the pipes. I think law enforcement is one of my top concerns, but I also understand the worry about the water. That being said, I think the water, if we actually looked at it from a practical manner with other cities, there's an easy fix there. While law enforcement needs to be maintained a vital part of the community. That's my comment.
I didn't mean to say law enforcement's not a vital part of the community. It's a vital part. It's just making an example.
Understood.
Okay, all right. And the $100,000, that was just what they spent to do the engineering studies or something like that to support it. If plan going forward.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, we're talking about budget, $100,000 is a lot.
Or three.
Anyway, I know there's a risk to this. You know, people could be hopping up and down and get all animated, and there could be pandemonium. I mean, if you think there was pandemonium about the current legal problems that the city has, if the water system goes down, there could be serious pandemonium. Can we agree on pandemonium?
Strong word, but people being upset, yes.
Yeah. So I just think that conversation can go a long way towards straightening a few things out and giving some people some guidance in the community. The council and the community need to consider it. I'll really shut up.
Okay, any other public comment?
I would just chime in as a new person, the biggest amount of chatter in my ear about the town in general is almost 100% about water, how it used to be, water, how it should be, water this, water that. I got a conversation with Mike as a new person concerned why I'm getting mud out of the sink. So I agree with you, I would love to know what has happened, what's going to happen. I just spent way more money than I wanted to spend on a filtration system at my house because I can't, I need to know. And I don't want that all gunked up right away, so yeah, for me, water is a big one. So I'd love to hear, get more details.
Sounds like we need to work something up.
I'm with you. I experience the same stuff. We can't do laundry at our home. We haven't been able to in about a month now. We haven't been able to drink our water in over a year. I buy water, spend $100 a month just on drinking water. The reason I ran was to do something with the water. I mean, you can complain all you want, but if you're not willing to do something, then just shut up, and I want to do something, so.
I'm assuming you're not talking to me.
No, I'm not talking to you, I was talking to me.
You're asking.
No, that was directed to me. And, but let me tell you where we stand currently, if I may. We had our tank cleaned, that was a big issue for us. It's debatable how long it's been since it was cleaned. I can tell you and show you images. I did not have a chance to print them up. I just received them before the meeting, but they found over 12 inches of sludge at the bottom of the tank. Based on what they're telling me, it hasn't been cleaned thoroughly and professionally in probably close to 10 years. Now, that may or may not be true. I can't verify that right now, but honestly, it's besides the point. The sludge is the issue. And there's one image that he put his hand in it, and it looked like he was reaching into thick brown gravy. I mean, it was just so thick. It wasn't water any longer. So getting mud out of your sink, yeah, I can see why you would. Believe me, I understand. So they went above and beyond with the cleaning. Both EMS, who is our water folks that survey our system and stay on top of it, they do every aspect of our water system currently. They went above and beyond additional cleaning. The tank cleaning came in. They did, from what I can tell, a bang-up job. After that, what we have to do now, and we're still currently connected to Demers Water. The well is shut off. We're connected to Demers Water. What they're proposing, and I just got this proposal within the hour, is that we stay on Demers Water for 30 days. And let's see how it plays out. Now, we've got to weigh all the costs involved in doing that. What Demers is currently charging us is not much at all, to be very honest. And I'm trying to get an actual cost involved with maintenance and just what it takes to maintain our current well system. What does it cost us per gallon? And the figure I'm getting right now, and again, I need it in writing, I need real data. But what I was able to get before this meeting was 27 cents a gallon. What we're currently paying Demers is 0.003 cents a gallon. All right. Now, there's additional costs, obviously. We still have to have EMS, even if we were to go directly from Demers, oversee the system. You have to have an operator. That's required. The only change we would bypass this crazy filtration system we have that's not doing the job it should be doing. It's really just a glorified water software, but what we may have to do is increase our chlorination, because by the time it goes from Demers all the way to here, our level may drop a little bit. So we'll have to look at that. That's, from what I'm told, not a huge deal. It's just chlorinator. But other than that, I lived in Habersham before I moved here. I was at Demers Water for 20 years and loved every minute of it. Never had an issue, not once. So we have a 6-inch line from Demers that goes just past the school. Less than a mile from here. Clint referenced it not long ago. From the 6-inch line from Demers in the school, it reduces down to a 2-inch line. Ultimately, our infrastructure is going to have to change if we do this long term. We really could use 6-inch throughout the city. It's a huge undertaking, obviously, and takes a longer plan, maybe a 5-year, 10-year, 20-year plan. I'm not really sure. We'll have to look into that. But that could be an option. The other thing, based on what they're telling us from Raven County, that down the road, we do the South Loop plan, and that might be another option. I do think we have long-term options available to us. The key word is long-term. They're going to take time. I think in the interim, though, Demers, from what I can tell, could be possibly a solution to additional wells. I'm really concerned with folks drilling wells. Again, I don't have the scientific background to back this up, but again, if you have so much water and you start taking it out all over, how much water is going to be left? And that's what worries me, is that the more wells we drill in this area, can the aquifer really handle it? And again, a long-term question. But if we give them another option, which we owe everybody that option of clean water, I'm hoping that Demers in the short term, we long term, to resolve that.
Quick question on that one, and I know you got to clarify, so go ahead. I'll talk after.
No, I just was gonna bring some more light on it. We hired a company to come in every 3 to 4 years. It was cleaning the tank. I believe the last time it was cleaned was 2016. Me and Bill actually jumped in and helped him clean the tank because I got us a discount. And then afterwards, we would go clean the tanks at the park. In exchange for a donation, the fire department would actually come out and help us. It was due about the time we left. Maybe within the next year. But we did have it going every 3 to 4 years, and I believe the last time it was done was 2016. We had a company coming out of Tennessee that was doing it.
Southwestern.
Yep, and then a lot of the stuff that you're getting in the water was years ago, there were people adding stuff to the water to get the brown out. And it caused it to stick to the sides of the pipe. And that was many years ago from what I was told. So as the weather changes, even though they don't use that anymore, they haven't used it in years, stuff that's been stuck to the sides of the pipe for years, when the weather changes, loosens up. So every time we had a major weather change, me and Bill were running all over town flushing hydrants. So the only way to really get rid of that is replace all the lines, and that's almost impossible. But that puts just a little bit of light on.
Now, I am told though that being connected to Demers long term, a month, for example, will begin to really flush these lines, both from pressure and the quality of the water. So a lot of that residue and buildup, hopefully we'll see reduced, is what I'm told so far.
No, that was good color. I appreciate it. Oh, everyone appreciates it. So we're talking about 10, 20-year solutions, and I understand it takes a very long time to do things. Raven County, Habersham, everything. But if we already have the Demers line plugged up and it's a 2-inch line, is that not an interim solution with our current infrastructure while we start laying a 6-inch pipe for that 5-year plan? Like, what would be where's the disruption here? And where's the argument of this all went to crap because we tried to do this new plan?
Well,
Perhaps the wrong word because we have silt in the water or whatever.
I mean, again, you still have some homework to do.
Gotcha.
To make sure the due diligence is done, but I'm with you. I think that long-term for now would be Demarest. I really do. I mean, the quality of the water is excellent.
I don't want to discount the Raven County people. I'm from Raven. so
No,
I also love their.
No, well, they're not great. Clearly, they're nowhere near that point, but Demarest, we're already connected to Demarest.
Right.
So that's done. And then we will have to go through the process that, where do we begin on laying new lines and costs involved? And again, there's a lot of work, I'm sure, to be done with that.
Yeah,
But I think, you know, from what I can tell, the 2 inch, we've been on Demarest since the beginning of the week. And we had one question about if the pressure was high, but other than that, it seems like we're doing fine. So, and the well's been shut off all the time.
Linda, do you have any insight as to when we might find out about our grant application?
I haven't heard yet. I know it was for their new budget, so I would think it'd be this summer.
Summer? Okay.
What was
Is that, how much did you apply for?
It was just
Two
under,
numbers.
it was just under 5 million, and then we had to go back. We had to kind of separate it into priorities phases. So, but the whole project was 4.4, maybe.
4 million, and then if we have to match, what we do is include how much we can match. We sent back to them and said, look, we can't match 20% of 4 million. So we said, this is what we can match. So if that's got to be 20%, then it would reduce the overall grant to about $1 million.
But you could potentially,
We could get,
by the summer, you might have $1 million
right,
to help you.
and that would still cover most of what we want to do for the priorities, the big priorities. The big priority in that plan was to go with a true filtration system for our water coming out of the well that would actually get all of the iron out of the water, all the iron and manganese out. Because the system we've got now is not really a filtration system, it's an ion exchange system. And it theoretically can get 75% of the iron out. But we've got some questions I need to talk with Scott about first. I've got some other information. But because he brought up some really concerning issues that I've since found should not be true.
Yes.
That should not be true. And I've spoken to someone who knows a little bit better. So, but I need to with Scott before we start putting, so we can verify before we start saying something out of school.
I
We don't
got
want
you.
to speak
Yeah,
out of
I
school.
agree.
So yeah, our main priority is to look at filtering this water. But if it's not cost effective, then we need to know that too. If there's a cost effective solution, so not changing the subject, I would like to address some misinformation I think that Scott has gotten and has said in the council meeting, I think last workshop, and you've alluded to it. So I kind of want to straighten this out. The previous council spent about, was it 70,000 total? We had 2 projects going on at the same time. We had a multi-phase project to improve our existing water system. We spent, I believe, 35 to 40,000 on that, on the engineering and all those studies and everything. Do you recall what that? What that number was? Yeah. For some reason, I feel like it's about 35 to 40,000 was done on that, just the engineering stuff for that side of it. What we're doing on the other side was we were looking at pursuing a water withdrawal permit from the lake. We actually only spent about 35 to 40,000 on the engineering and everything for that project.
Okay.
That project is very much still alive and still very viable, and we are still looking into it. It's just that right as I came into office, COVID hit, and no one wanted to have in-person meetings. Then we got a contract from one source that is not agreeable to the town. We need to go back and negotiate that contract. I had talked to Larry, felt like he probably wasn't gonna run again. Knowing that we were gonna get a new water commissioner on board, I put a lot of it on hold because I don't wanna go in to negotiations and then switch parties in the middle of it. So just wait until Scott got on, got up to speed, and we're gonna begin going back in and pulling that team back together and starting discussions about that water withdrawal permit with EPD. So it is still on the books. It is still moving forward. No one on the upstream side of that has ever communicated to me that they're no longer interested in doing it. So we still have a potential customer. We still have several entities that are very much in favor of the project moving forward. So we are still, that's still there. And I know Craig and I met with the previous mayor. She ran through all this stuff with us. And I think she met with Joey. And so I got the intention from from the council as I was coming in that they still wanted to move forward and look at that. So that is still there. So I'm not sure where some information came from. I haven't had a chance to talk to Scott individually about that yet. But since the information is now coming back to me from multiple sides, I want to make sure we're straightening that out.
Well, that's good news if that's possible. Yeah. I mean, because in the original plan, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Cornelia was gonna do the infrastructure. And at the same time, we were gonna ask, not only will they put in a line that pulls the water out, but we're asking for a line that pushes the water back and allows us then to get our water from there. So.
They may or may not go with that because it may cost extra money. That
Yeah,
they don't want to do, but that would be another source for clean water to come back to our town. So it is still something we're looking into.
I
That's
very much
just-
appreciate that response, Mike. That's a good explanation. Thank you.
So I'd like to head off any misinformation. It's obvious that, so, and that is that project that potentially could bring income to the town that would be pretty substantial if some of the numbers that Willard Ferguson has sent back are accurate. Now, I've got my questions about that, so I'll have someone double check his numbers, but yeah. So it is still out there.
And I do have a spreadsheet on exactly what we've spent on it. It may be more towards the 70,000.
I thought it was a 70 for both.
No, I've got a spreadsheet just on that project.
So I may have some bad information.
But I haven't looked
some
at
old
it in a while.
information too. I will say, but the one thing about it, the one thing I do want to make sure of is it is not a dead project.
Right, that's great.
And again, it's been 2 years roughly that you've really been active in it.
Right.
So, you know, if you're not on top of the numbers, it's understandable for 2 years. So, yeah, I mean, that's fine. But at least we have a start. And that would be great.
So, and a bunch of that, I think almost every bit of that money was spent out of SPOS revenue. So it wasn't taxpayer money being spent. Well,
Public funds.
Yeah,
shall we say.
not property taxpayers money. It was visitors and people shopping. They covered some of that cost. So, all right. Any other public comment, question? All right, I believe we really do need to go into executive session to discuss ongoing litigation. So I'll ask for a motion, to go into executive session. Tom makes a motion, Scott seconds, all in favor? Unanimous. All right, give us a few minutes to shut everything down. And it shouldn't take long.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah.